Again, the former BBC presenter Huw Edwards has commissioned a very stylish and professional portrait, which he has put up on his Facebook page. He looks like a rather sleek silver fox, and there's not the faintest sign about him that he is a man who was convicted only last year of a particularly disgusting crime involving children aged between 7 and 9. Acquiring pornographic images of children being abused was bad enough, but of course there was also the matter of his paying a young man for doing stuff in front of a camera and so on. One of the sleaziest stories for a long time involving a public figure. Remember, this was only last year, it's not ancient history. I think I can say with perfect assurance that if I were to be exposed in such a fashion, I would hide myself away and never appear in public again. The shame would be so great a crushing weight. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be commissioning fancy photographic sessions designed to make me look like an aging matinee idol. The rumour is that Edwards believes he might be able to stage a comeback and that the public could possibly be persuaded to overlook what he has done. I think that this tells us two things. One, which is just about Huw Edwards, and the other about society in general. The purely personal matter of Hugh Edwards is that he must be such a big-headed, vain and shallow man that he simply cannot imagine the public would turn their back on him for good. Sure, he's gone through a rough patch, but after a spell in therapy, all will be forgiven and forgotten. The mentality of such a man is simply beyond my comprehension. The wider implications of this attitude, though, reflect upon the nature of modern Britain. The concept of shame and repentance, or even responsibility for one's own actions, has all but vanished. Nobody is ever ashamed anymore, and it's felt to be very old-fashioned to condemn anybody for moral failings. This applies to adultery, drunkenness, and now even child abuse. The first thing Hugh Edwards did when he got found out was to book into a private mental hospital and resign from the BBC on medical grounds. It wasn't his fault, you see. It was an illness. Many public figures adopt the same course of action when caught out at something. Cheat on your wife? Maybe you're a sex addict. You ought to see a therapist. Keep falling over drunk in the street? That must be an illness called alcoholism and needs to be treated at a rehabilitation clinic. Looking at pictures of naked little girls? Better book into a psychiatric unit. It's an illness. This kind of thing is absorbed subliminally by ordinary people, and from watching all those public figures play this game, they too come to believe that they are not responsible for their own actions. I wonder why viewers think that so many diagnoses of ADHD and autism are being advertised by adults in the public eye these days. Because it provides the perfect excuse for bad behaviour in the past. I sometimes behave badly, and in the past I've behaved even more badly. I'm rude and I argue with people. Until I stopped drinking heavily almost 45 years ago, I sometimes got so drunk I'd pass out. These actions are my responsibility. They're not the result of a medical condition. If I decided to go to the supermarket this evening and buy a bottle of whiskey and then drink it all in one afternoon and fall down drunk in the street before being sick in the gutter, who or what would be to blame for this? The answer is, of course, that it would be my fault for being such a bloody fool as to start drinking again. It would not be the fault of some mysterious illness called alcoholism, caused perhaps by my genetic inheritance. If I have a row on YouTube today and call somebody an idiot, who's responsible for that? I think I'd be responsible. Or it could be that I have some clinical condition such as ADHD or autism, which makes me row with strangers on the internet. Perhaps this too is a medical problem. This is the way society is now. We are all absolved of personal responsibility, and our actions can all be excused by medical jargon. This is why Hugh Edwards thinks he can return to public life, and this is one of the reasons that our society is in such a shocking state.